Hi guys, welcome to the Sunday slot. So today's guest is Mairi Gardner. So Mairi is a nutrition and fitness student. She also is an author of her own blog. I've been reading it for quite a while now, and I love it. I love the content. I love the ethos behind it, and I think it's very informative for anybody that's going to be reading it. So I've put the post to her blog in this actual broadcast itself. So if you get a chance, check it out. There's a lot of subjects to talk about. I'm going to bring Mairi on to talk about, and we'll just talk about Mairi for a wee while, and then we'll talk about everything that's in there because it's really good content. I think everybody will enjoy it. I enjoy it, and maybe you'll enjoy it as well. So good morning, Mairi. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Yep. Okay. So let me talk about your journey so far.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're only young.
I know, not much to say.
And I was born, and here I am now. So what is your background? What do you do, and what's brought you to this point? Why this?
Well, I've always lived quite a healthy lifestyle, and my family's already been like that always. And I don't know, it's just something I've always been interested in. I've thought about this before, and I've where did it start? But I just can't figure it out. Like I've just always loved it. Mm-hmm. And we did so much exercise when we were younger and stuff like that, and then just carried it on. Like when I was in school, I loved PE and all those things, and then I just thought, yeah, I'll go to uni and do it. And then I just became more and more passionate about it as the time went on.
Do you think that's driven then by your mother and father? Then do you think that?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, probably. Yeah, they were such a great influence on me when I was younger.
It is the power of association, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because if I was brought up differently, like who knows what I'd be doing now, to be honest.
Yeah. And the people round about you as well, your friends and that, were they similar?
Yeah. Not necessarily. A few of them, but I was just really interested in it. It was just something I just loved. And I was so lucky to feel that way about something so young.
Yeah. Or were you like me, the proverbial outcast?
No, I wasn't like that.
It's like that's she's just into her fitness. She's into her just leave it to government. Is anybody coming to the pub?
Well, a wee bit like that now, to be fair. But when I was younger, no. But now everyone's like, yeah, I'm going out, and then I'm like, no, it's okay.
Yeah. I'll just say a couple of good mornings. Good morning, Craig. How are you? If you've got any questions for Mairi, please feel free to ask them. So we're going to talk about your blog as well. Mm-hmm. One of the things I read, obviously yesterday, you just released this one, the everyday and the mundane. So could you talk us through this a wee bit? What it's all about.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think that if people just live their life waiting for the weekend or for holidays and stuff like that, but I just think every day is beautiful, and every day there's something to be enjoyed about every day. And that post was just a lot about that, basically, that you can do anything. Just changing your mindset is just such an important thing, and that you can literally live the life that you've dreamed of, no problem. It's just about thinking you can. And I just want people to understand that so badly, because people are just they can do so much with their life, and the things that they love, they can do it, but I don't know, people just decide maybe that they want to do something else or something like that. But it's just people, you can just do anything. You can do absolutely anything, and I love it.
Do you think it's an entrenched mentality in our upbringing, and we're socially conditioned? We're like that.
Definitely.
People condition us like that. And
I think
yeah.
It depends. I think if you're brought up to believe that maybe you can't do certain things, then that is a big factor. But I also think socially we're treated like that as well. We're treated though so if you can't do maths and English at school, then there's no point even trying. And it's that's ridiculous, because it's not the only two things that get you places in the world, and not everything. If you're passionate about something, it will take you so far. And I want people to understand that, because maths and English, I'm not good at maths. You could ask me literally anything about maths, and I'd be like, no, can't do it. But that does not mean that I'm not going to be successful. Do you know what I mean? So that's the way I see that.
Absolutely, I see that as well. I mean, there's a few people. There's one person exactly who works with me, is sales, and he says I cannot read or write, but he says, I tell you what, he's a great salesman. He does his job brilliantly, and literally he says, this is what I excel at, this is what I'm great at, so this is what I focus on, and that's it. And I've seen loads of people like that.
Yeah, it's just about finding it. It's about finding what you love. And I think some people, it comes really easy to them. And other people, it takes a bit of work to find it. And that's totally okay. Like you can end up being 60 years old and then find out what you love. Like there's no pressure. It's just about living life and seeing what you enjoy and just doing it.
Are you trying to imply something at 60?
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to. I'm just
really
saying it's never
I'm
too
really
late.
90, but I've lived a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, see, it's okay.
I think for me, it's the phrase, a fish can swim really well, but if you judge it on its ability to climb a tree, it'll go
Exactly.
about thinking it's stupid for the rest of its life.
And that's exactly what we do today in our school systems and in the way we treat children and the way they're brought up.
Mhm.
And it's so bad. I just think it's terrible. I think school needs totally rethinked. Rethinks,
Oh,
is that a
that's
word?
a subject in it.
Rethought.
You have all the teachers up in arms. Get the pitchfork out.
I know.
They should live.
I know.
So, you talk about this as well, and about this, the mundane and the everyday, and we've briefly discussed these bits about that, but what is it someone needs to do? Because most people don't know what my journey is. My journey is I was asked to leave school at 16, 17 years old, and I was told you will never amount to anything.
Yeah, it's
that's
terrible.
basically my experience from school. And I failed miserably in accounts, and yet went on to become an accountant. What that one?
Okay. Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense.
But I bring it down to point of readiness.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
It's that time when you think about it. You're maybe not ready. I mean, I've always said it. You're maybe not ready at school, and you maybe fail your exams miserably. But that doesn't mean to say you're going to be a write-off. But society does teach us if you don't make it at that point, that's it. You've had it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, I've not thought about it like that. Like you could maybe I'll be a mathematician when I'm older. Who knows?
Well, we
guarantee it. No, though. But
I think you found your calling. This is
definitely. Yeah.
But I do think as well, and we've talked about this off camera briefly, that I do think you will go on to be an author, and also possibly be in broadcasting as well. Because I really think you've got a talent for it.
Yeah, it's one of the things definitely in the bigger plan that I've got anyway to be an author, but we'll see. But yeah, I think that if you haven't found what you love now, that you definitely will. You just have to believe that and go with your intuition and go with what you feel that you enjoy, and then just see where it takes you, and you'll find amazing things. It's a hard thing.
What about all the people then? Basically, I was quite lucky. I don't know how it happened, but I was quite lucky to find the right mentors in my early 20s.
Yeah.
Who then I started to accelerate because they started to lift. They started to change my mindset. But at that time, I was convinced that was it. Basically, I worked as a window cleaner with my dad for several years, and that was, I thought that was me. That I'll just do that for the rest of my life, and I'll just run my dad's business once he retires, and that's about it, really. I didn't really think anything else until I was introduced to it from other people more successful than me, in other areas. And then it started to lift that lid on the jar. And I talk about the lift the lid on the jar as in, how do you train a flea? In the flea circus, they train fleas to jump only so high. But what they do is put them in the jar, they put the lid on the jar, and then they jump and they keep hitting their head all the time on the jar lid. And then eventually what the flea works out is, I tell you what, I only need to jump so high, and then that's it. And I'll just miss that lid, and I'll stop hurting my head. And then, what happens is you can take that lid off, and the flea will never jump out of the jar.
Yeah, exactly.
And to me, that's how our system conditions our children.
Yeah, exactly. It's just people should teach their children, or not people, but people in school should teach children that they can do literally anything. And I think as soon as people have that belief, that's when you say it's lifting the lid off the jar. And it's about that, it's no one makes you realize that. And it's either yourself or someone in your life. But for people that don't have that someone, it can be really, really hard. It can be really hard.
And these are difficult subjects to talk about without becoming across as so preachy.
Exactly.
It's difficult to say that because we talk about people, but it's us, isn't it?
It's us as well. Yeah,
we teach the generations that are come after us how to act and how to interact with other people. You know,
Yeah, there's so much.
I've often heard older generation, and I'm gonna get pelts for this. I've often heard the older generation go on about the younger generation, and I
Yeah.
turn around sometimes and say, "Well, you taught them to do it.
No.
That's the reality."
Yeah.
Because they weren't taught from anybody else.
No, yeah. But that's the thing, like there's like I know nothing right now. There's so much that I'll learn. Like I'm so young. And I know that there's so many things I might say now that I might think are wrong in time to come. I'm sure there will be. But that's the thing. It's just about understanding where you are right now, understanding what you love now and following it. It's really as simple as that. No matter where you are.
It's interesting you say the things about, about things that you believe now, you'll look back in horror and think.
Well, I'm so young. There's so much to learn.
I think, oh my goodness, I actually believed that at the time.
Yeah, no.
and I cringe now, and I think, how could I have thought like that? But for me, I think when I was younger, I was in a bad place. My thinking was effectively stinking, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I thought the whole world was against me, and everybody owed my living. That's really how I thought when I was a lot younger.
That's hard.
I was extremely frustrated, as a child and as a teenager, because I had all this energy. We talked about this off camera, about the fact that, I think I was an ADHD child because I'm actually quite hyper still all the time, and that's why I do triathlon, to keep myself centered.
Yeah.
But I think at that time, because I was like that, it was maybe, I tell you what, we're going to come on to this actually, sugar addiction. It was maybe because I used to eat loads of sweets every single afternoon. I must have driven the school crazy, because I used to go into the shop and buy cola cubes. I used to buy, cherry lips. I used to buy floral gums. And it wasn't the stuff that you've got now. It was the stuff that had all the E numbers and all the sugars and all the stuff in there. And we're going to talk about this now. Sugar addiction.
Yeah. It's a big one.
What's your thoughts on sugar addiction? I mean, you've done a full blog on this.
Yeah,
and I would recommend everybody read that on Mairi's blog.
I could talk for hours about sugar addiction. I think it's such a crazy thing.
We'll talk about it in 10 minutes. Let's talk about it for 10 minutes.
Well, it was actually my mum that started this. She was looking into like lots of different addictions and how it impacted her, and she started telling me about sugar addiction and what she'd been learning about it. And I just thought it was really interesting, because obviously I was very interested in nutrition then, but we're not taught anything about it in like uni or anything. It's not really a subject that people know anything about. So I just started looking into it more and more and understanding how refined sugar. So when I talk about sugar, I mean refined sugar. So not natural sugars like fruit or anything like that, just the things that are added to products. I started looking at that.
They take a spoonful out of that sugar packet and put it in your food to make it taste sweeter.
Yeah, but that's the way that the our innate responses work that way. So it's fat and sugar is being taught like within us that's calories, and that means for equals survival. So when we eat sugar, that's just the body's responses is dopamine and lots of other different things that happen. But our bodies are taught that we need that source, but it genuinely thinks that it's getting something good, because the sweet taste is associated with vitamin C, so that this thing that are in fruit. So when you eat sugar, your body thinks that you're eating something that's got vitamin C in it, but that's definitely not the case. But our brains can't understand that it's not good for us. So it gets all really tangled in with our natural human responses to food. And therefore, like, we get really addicted to the taste, because one, it's such a refined product. So I've done a lot of research about the way that the way that they refine cocaine is a very similar process to the way that they refine sugar from the sugar beet. So, and that adds very much to the addictiveness of the sugar. So it's the sugar that is actually addictive, and also the way that our body processes sugar in our brains that makes it so highly addictive. But just because we don't talk about it, we don't talk about how sugar is a problem. We know that sugar's not is bad for us. We know that, but no one quite understands the magnitude of what it's doing to their bodies. It's sugar. It's just such a widespread thing. It's actually, there's a quote, I can't remember who said it, but it was the alcohol of the child. So basically, even like children have this sugar addiction.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So I've not eaten any refined sugar for probably 2 and a bit years, and I don't feel the need for it at all. I never think about it. I never crave it. But before, when I ate sugar, like there could be like chocolate there, and I'd be like, I have to eat that. Like I would not be able to leave it. It'd be sitting there, and I'd need to eat it at some point. And that's just crazy to me. If you actually think about how you feel about refined sugar, you'll realize that it controls you. Well, not for everyone. I think people are like, you know how people have a sweet tooth or the more savory tooth. I think there's still an addiction, but it's way less for people that are more like savory food more. But I definitely have a sweet tooth, so that was just like it controlled me, and I didn't realize it until I actually sat and thought about it.
It is effectively more addictive than cocaine, isn't it?
Yeah, effective. There's been lots of studies about rats and they've shown that the rats preferred the sweet craving over.
Yeah, that was the 30 day. The rats 30 days on cocaine for 30 days.
Yeah,
and then they put sugar in front of them, and 29 of them out of the 30 actually immediately changed to sugar, and they never touched cocaine from then on.
Yeah, and that's just simply because like the substance is just like the rats seen the sugar as like an energy. So if you don't like already know this, you probably do, but carbohydrate is the main source of fuel in the body. So and sugar is just a really refined like source of it's still a carbohydrate, but it's just a really refined source of it. And so your body's like, oh my gosh, amazing. Like I don't have to worry about survival for however how long because you've had this big hit of sugar. But that's your brain that says that, but your body is suffering after it. Your body and your brain weirdly can't talk to each other very well.
So is this the reason why people continue to eat and eat and eat?
Yes.
Because their body isn't getting the right nutrients, so therefore it keeps on eating. So when you go to things like KFC, you immediately think, I'm wanting something else.
Yeah.
Because
it depends.
You're actually getting I mean, you know, I've got to admit it is tasty.
I know, yeah.
I'll give it that, you know, KFC, McDonald's and that, but it's all designed to do that, isn't it? It's all designed. I mean, it is literally loaded with sugar.
Yeah, exactly. Like
if you took a spoonful of sugar, you wouldn't actually put it on top of your beef burger. But the reality is, that's what they're doing effectively when they're giving you a McDonald's.
Yeah, it's not even like KFC and McDonald's. It's every food that is processed. There's sugar added into it, and if you look at the packages of food that's meant to be savory. So like crisps have sugar in it. Like why? Like they're not sweet foods. Like why do they have sugar in it? And it's just because manufacturers know and understand how our bodies work, and they know how to get people to eat their products. So when they add sugar to even savory things, your brain's like, oh, that's another way that I can get energy from. So that it's basically ensuring that you go back to eat more. So it's such a smart marketing technique, but it's absolutely terrible for our health.
Yeah, you know, effectively that's where obesity is coming from, really.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the theories, one of the many theories. It's not obviously nothing's proven, but that's definitely one of the many things that I think is causing a huge issue in our obesity epidemic. Absolutely huge. And I think if you removed refined sugar altogether today, like obesity next week would be like monumental change, and that's a crazy thought. But it's just true. The way that our bodies process sugar it basically equals fat gain, and it's crazy. It's absolutely craziness that that we're not aware of this information, that the government doesn't want to tell us these things, you know, for many reasons. But yeah,
well, for many reasons, the fact that it'll destroy an industry. You know,
exactly.
And
so much money.
That's profitability, that's jobs, that's economy. You know, they don't really want to do it like that. So hence the reason why you get this piecemeal approach to things about you can't do 3-for-1 deals, you can't do 2-for-1 deals. You've got to cut back on this. You're not allowed to advertise at certain times of day for children now. You know, you're not allowed to put that type of advert on. So they're actually gradually cutting back on it in a slow process in order for it to come out of our psyche, basically.
Yep.
But for generations, for the next 2 or 3 generations, it's here to stay, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Like even like the sugar tax is a great thing. It's absolutely fantastic that is in place, but it's still not tackling the issue that it is an addiction and people don't know that it is. So people aren't aware of how these products are affecting them. And not everyone goes to the shop and reads every packet that they buy. You know, you can't do that. It's unattainable. But it's essentially like every single product that you buy is so do I. But like I can't ask people to do that. It's just
I'm the sad one that reads all the labels.
Yeah, me too.
But believe me, I read the label and it tells you straight away. Obviously, when you read the ingredients, it goes by how much of the ingredients is in each one. So if sugar comes first, the majority of the ingredient in your product is sugar.
Yeah. Like
if something else comes first, that's the majority of the ingredient. And so if you see sugar way at the very end, you're kind of all right. But if you see it right at the very beginning, probably chocolate bars will have that. Then you've got to rethink and think, is this something absolutely necessary?
Yeah, like a rule that I go by is that if you don't understand an ingredient in a product, don't eat it, because it's probably some sort of chemical. And like you should understand what's going into your food, and we don't, and it's just terrible. And it's not even that much of an individual responsibility anymore. It's more of an environment, because we're so everywhere we look, there's sugar, and it's an addiction. So how can we expect ourselves to get rid of that when it's everywhere? As such, we're treated like when you have bad health, or when there's like you go on a weight loss journey or whatever, we're treated as if we're the bad ones, like we can't control ourselves. And it's such a destructive way to think, because it's not. We're controlled by a substance. It's not about you and your self-awareness or your willpower. It's about the people that are trying to control you. So it's so bad that people think that they're that they don't have enough willpower, that they can't control themselves over food.
Spiral, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
You beat yourself up mentally thinking that you can't control it, and thinking it's your fault and it's only you. But the reality is, you have to understand that you're actually being manipulated.
Yeah, manipulated, but it's so by so many people on such higher levels. It's insane. So just to stop thinking that it's your fault, because it's not. It's just not. It's so wrong that we're so manipulated by our government and the media and manufacturers.
So what are the good sugars to look out for then?
It's if it's fruit, you can use maple syrup, honey, like things like agave nectar and stuff like that. And fruit and vegetables have a little bit of natural sugar in it. But normally if it's processed, it's probably not a good sugar. And like fructose is the sugar that's in fruit. But a lot of manufacturers add fructose to their products anyway. So like the main sugar that is added is fructose, because it's been removed from its natural source and then put back into like a chocolate bar or something like that in high quantity.
Is that a good thing though?
No, absolutely not. Like as soon as something is taken out of its natural state, it becomes problematic. So that's another thing that you can think about it like that, is that if it wasn't naturally grown like that, if it wasn't made to be like that, then it's probably not going to be good for you. But it depends.
One of the things I was told was, if you're going to have sugar, well, just like a fruit, and this is maybe an urban myth, but make sure you've got fiber at the same time, because fiber slows down the absorption of the sugar.
Yeah, there's a lot of fiber in fruit. So that's the thing. Like, do you know so orange juice is like when they remove all the like pith and stuff like that, that's where all the fiber comes from. So that's why people say that you should only have a little bit of orange juice, because it is still good for you. But in high quantities, it's quite similar to like the hit you would get off of like a chocolate bar or something like that, because they've removed the fiber and the important nutrients essentially. So it's always better to eat fruit whole, just the way it's made, and to not cook it as well. But you can cook fruit, no problem. It's just that if you're looking at it from a nutritional standpoint, it's best just eat things raw and as the way they're made, just whole. So
what happens to the fruit when you cook it? Does it change its
like anything, when you cook anything, it becomes more acidic, and our bodies need a slightly alkaline environment. So when you say you cook like anything, it doesn't actually matter what it is, it just when you put it into your body, it's not the best state for it, if that makes sense. Like slightly alkaline things and alkaline foods are the best for your body, so like fruit and vegetables and stuff like that. But also when you like chop up fruit and cook fruit or vegetables or anything like that, they lose some of its nutrient content, just from the way that they're a full structure. So if you look at a banana, like the structure of it is the way it's meant to be, is just like that. So when you eat it, all that is going, all the structure and the nutrients are going into your body. But when you start cutting up and adding heat and all these things to it, they just burn off and some of the nutrients are lost. But it's definitely not totally lost, not at all. So you can still definitely cook things, but you should eat raw things as well, raw fruit and vegetables, just for the nutrient value.
Got a comment here from Owen. Owen works in the fitness industry. So love this, helping to get the word out that eating sugar is one of the main causes of fat in the body, and not eating fat.
Definitely not. Fat has been demonized so much, and it's just there's not much wrong with it. Even like they say, like cholesterol and saturated fat, we're treated that we should totally avoid that, but you actually need saturated fat and cholesterol, just in much lesser portions to unsaturated fats like omega-3. And that's the difference, but that's been demonized to take away from sugar, and it's craziness. But when you eat sugar, insulin is spiked in the body, so refined sugar, not like fruit or anything like that, like to quite a high degree. And insulin basically sends messages to your fat cells to be stored instead of used for fuel. So even if you're in a calorie deficit, if you're eating a lot of refined sugar, basically you're sending your fat cells a message to not burn for fuel, and they're going to use other sources like protein and carbohydrate. Right. So it's terrible. It's just that the effect that on your body is monumental of eating refined sugar.
So when you do fitness, what's your best advice for your diet for fitness people, for starting and finishing and that? Because often, people will say, "Oh, take an energy bar," and every time I do fitness is like, keep that gel away from me.
No, none of that.
A lot, and is that a good thing?
Yeah, especially in triathlons and stuff like that, it's really important. But that just comes from the fact that in like an hour and a half of exercise, you start to lose your glycogen, which is just basically carbohydrate stores in your body. And when that's depleted, it goes on to fat. So that's a good thing for your body composition, but it basically slows down your performance a lot. So that's why people like triathletes and things like that, they have carbohydrate to stop that from happening, so you can still run as fast or swim as fast and stuff like that. But
loading up in the carbs the night before.
Yeah.
I've done it.
I know. I know. There's definitely loads of stigma around people going to the gym and like the way you should eat when you exercise, but there really isn't. Like, it's very much you just have to eat more when you exercise. And it depends. If you're doing a very long race or something like that, you should eat more carbohydrate the night before, just your carbohydrate can be stored in your muscles, which is good. So you want to maximize that, but there's only so much storage that you can put into them. So you don't need to eat carbs for like a week before running or something like that. But
you probably have to take a sort of rest period once you've run in order to store all the carbohydrates into your muscles again.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why people they say have a rest day before a race or something like that. But especially for the protein myths about people that go to the gym and stuff like that, our bodies can only take in around 20 grams of protein at one time. So people that say like get as much protein as possible, that's fine, but your body can only take in 20 grams. So 20 grams is like a chicken breast. So it's nothing crazy. And then there's a lot of protein shakes with like 40 grams of protein and stuff in it. It's just absolutely waste of time. It's not going to get into your body.
Your body will just dump it, take it.
Exactly.
It takes what it needs and it just dumps all the rest.
Yeah, exactly. So do
you are you a big fan of diet drinks and stuff like that? To do
absolutely
all that?
Not. No, absolutely not.
I'm not either personally. I think it should be a natural diet.
100%.
I don't think you should be loading yourselves up with drinks and juices.
No, your body knows exactly what to do in these things. Your body is so fantastic and amazing at what it does. So we don't need anything.
No one has ever died of a protein deficiency.
No.
Think about that one, folks.
The
reality is you're not going to die of protein deficiency.
Absolutely not.
So this thing about proteins and this and proteins and that is purely a marketing gimmick now.
Yeah. If you eat a modern diet, like if you eat normally, you'll get more than enough protein. So don't even worry about it.
Types of protein to eat.
There's a huge argument about this that there's basically, say animal products of protein, so meats and dairy and stuff like that, they're complete, as they call it, is that there's so basically we need 9 essential amino acids in our diet. So what that means, you have to eat all 9 essential amino acids. And the animal proteins have all 9 essential amino acids. So that's really good, because you don't have to think about it too much. You can just eat that, and then you got your protein. But the difference is, so in plant sources, they don't necessarily have all 9, but they have maybe 4 or 5, and then there's another source in your diet that you can eat that has the other 3 or 4. So you can do it like that. There's just a wee bit more thought into it when it comes to the plant sources, the plant of protein. But it doesn't mean that there's better sources. It's all the same. It's just that there's one that's complete and there's one that is slightly incomplete, but you can still get all the protein, no problem. Like if you're on a vegan diet and you get all your protein from plants, that's absolutely fine. There's protein from animals is no better. It's just much harder. Not harder. You just have to think a little bit more about your protein when you're eating a vegan diet in comparison to not. And that's all it is. There's no better protein. It's not like that.
Yeah, interesting comment from Deborah. So totally agree as a dietitian. Well done. Can you maybe talk about sugar-free diet drinks and sweeteners? Is that what's your thoughts on that?
It's interesting. I think that in a lot of the like sugar-free and diet drinks, there's just one thing that I know that is that when they take something out, they add something else in. So if you have like, I don't know, diet something, whatever, they've got to add something else in to make sure that you like it. So they'll either add sweeteners or chemicals to ensure that. So, and sweeteners and chemicals are both not good for your body at all. So it's just what poison you want to choose is really the question to that. But sugar, so if you look at it from if you don't want to gain weight, sweeteners and chemicals are a better way to go. But if you're looking at health altogether, you don't want either of them. That's just the way I see it. But yeah.
I've never been a big fan of it's exactly what you say about the non-sweeteners. It's like, we'll just take something out, we'll put something else in. Just leave it out, Don't
There's so many things.
But then the product won't be as desirable. It won't be as addictive.
No.
Let's be honest. It's still that sort of, even though it's a sweetener, it's still kind of addictive on the brain?
So there's lots of arguments that there's just a sweet taste that people can be addicted to. So even like fruit and carbohydrate and stuff like that, like there's some argument that when you eat that, you can still become addicted to that because it's still sweet tasting. But when you have like things like sweetener and things like that, it's still so sweet that it's like the same type of thing as refined sugar, but it's just slightly different, if that makes sense. But I don't really know too much about sweeteners, but the way I look at it is that if it's processed and man-made, it shouldn't be going into your body. And that's the same with everything. This is everything that happens that you put into your body that's man-made, it causes health issues.
I don't want to scare anybody, but I kind of look at it like it's almost like poisoning yourself a wee bit every single day.
Yeah. It is,
effectively, because your body's not designed to take that.
No.
And therefore your system actually fights against it when it goes in. It has a reaction. And then if you overload it, I always think of your system's only got... you ever seen the numbskulls? You'll maybe not remember them. But they used to be the numbskulls used to be it used to be in the Beano, right? You'll maybe not remember the Beano. So the numbskulls lived in this person's body, in their head, and then they ran about and did all the various things in the body. There's a Disney film about it now, I think. So I always look at it like that. You've only got a certain amount of numbskulls, if that makes sense, in your body that can do any one job at any point in time. So if you put something into your body which shouldn't be there, it runs and does that. Therefore, if anything else happens to you and you get ill, it really can't accommodate to actually counteract that as well at the same time. So it's kind of like that. That's why maybe people are more prone to illness than other people.
Yeah, well, if you give your body a lot of work to do, then it's going to have less time to do other things. So one of the main arguments about sleep is that that's the time when your body repairs itself. And if you've got a lot of digestion going on, a lot of issues with like the effect of sugar, the effect of processed foods, your body hasn't got time to repair certain tissues or cells or deal with the inflammation that's been caused by something else. If inflammation causes disease, so that's one of the reasons is that the small impact of the body not being able to work at full capacity adds up over a long period of time, and that's how you result in disease. That's one of the many reasons, but it is a big importance that you and like that your body is always ready to take on anything that's going on, not giving it something else to worry about when it just simply doesn't need it just doesn't need to worry about that.
So Alien says, where do I start? I love chocolate.
Oh, I know. That's the thing. That's the thing that everyone says this. Every person I've spoke to about sugar addiction, they say to me, like, what do you do when you're like upset? Like when you can't just eat chocolate or something like that. And I'm like, well, when you stop eating refined sugar, you just simply don't want it anymore. Like if I was to eat chocolate right now, I'd probably think it was disgusting. Like I wouldn't enjoy the taste. It's all in your brain, and it's everything about it isn't really for your taste. It's manipulating your brain. So as soon as you start, like just start very, very slow. Like you don't do anything fast. Like just start taking little things out, and then eventually you'll be like, I don't even need this anymore. And that's genuinely how it goes. And then when you stop eating it, it's like, I don't care. I don't want it. I genuinely don't want it. And that's the way it works. And you'd be so surprised to think, like now thinking you love sugar and everything like that, to when you're at the end and you're like, I don't want it. And it's crazy. It's so good though. And just really small.
How long do you think, if somebody wanted to stop eating chocolate, right,
Mhm.
and they loved chocolate, how
Yeah.
long do you think it should take, or what period of time should it take, and they should, what I call transition? Because you know,
Mhm.
I love meat, right? That's really
Mhm.
what it came down to. And then I
Yeah.
became a vegetarian, and then 4 years later, I became a vegan. You know,
Yeah.
that's it, really. And
Mhm.
I don't force it on anybody else. It's just my personal
No.
choice, to be honest.
Yeah.
I love that diet. You know,
Mhm.
but it's quite a motive for other people to talk about it.
Yeah. Especially
It's
vegan
almost like the
diets.
word
Yeah.
independence when people talk about independence. It's
No,
like,
I
oh my
know.
God, pitchforks out.
I know.
But just the very word. So plant-based diets is a nice thing to talk about. You know, that's
Mhm.
kind of a less emotive word. So I like plant-based diets. You know, that's
Yeah.
it. So it took me at least 5 or 6 years to get to that stage.
Yeah, it
But
should be
I had to
very
start
slow.
somewhere. So how long would it take for someone, you know, probably just to come off a chocolate? How long would you envisage?
And just it really depends on the person, to be honest. It depends on, what you feel you're capable of. Like what do you like if you what you really want. If you really want the results, if you really care about your health, it's an easy switch because you see it as, this isn't doing any good for my health. It's just it makes me happy, which is totally fine. But it just depends on what you want, what you're motivated by, and it doesn't take long if you look at it that way. Like I'm this type of person. It's probably quite bad, but if I make up my mind, that's it. Like I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. So it's a very quick decision for me, and I like it that way. But it doesn't work for everyone, and I wouldn't actually recommend to anyone that they do that. I think it should be very slow. So just start every day by taking a little tiny bit less out, and then you'll get used to that new thing. And then once you're used to that, take even more out until you've got nothing less to take out, and then that's it. And you just try not having it for a while, see how you feel, and if you absolutely hate it and it's affecting your mental health, just go back to it because your mental health is more important.
This is where I come to as well. We're on a fantastic subject of mental health. This is a big thing for you as well, and a big thing for me. This is where it comes down to the mindset about the why.
Yeah.
You know, really, it's all very well saying you're going to stop doing something, but I think when it becomes really difficult for you and challenging, and you're really driven towards it, the why is going to drive you forward.
Yeah.
So it is a mindset, isn't it? It is to talk about
Definitely.
what's
I
the
think
most
that
important things that will drive you to do that.
Well, I personally think that your mental health is more important than your physical health. And that's crazy because that's all I talk about is physical health and how important it is because it's so important. But I think that being happy and living your life is more important than living a life that you hate just simply to be healthy. Because even then, if you're doing that, you're not healthy. Like I'm so passionate about health and nutrition. So that's my whole life. I adore it. But I know that if people live the way I lived, it might drive them crazy because they're not interested in it. And that's fine. You don't have to be interested in it, but just taking small steps to making yourself a little bit healthier will make you feel so much better and will change your life, to be quite honest. And then you might become passionate about it. You never know. But yeah.
And you
It's
talked
just
about,
all about mindset.
one of the other articles, which I find quite fascinating, is the mentality every single year where we get to the beginning of the year and think, right, I need to go on a diet. And the one that says it's called This Time of Year. But it's a fantastic article. I love it. So it's the 4 ways to reject the diet mentality.
Yeah.
That's ultimately it. And can we talk about that a bit? That's like, why do people focus so much on New Year? Is this socially conditioned into us?
It is. It's conditioned into me. It's conditioned into every single person. It's a battle to fight against that idea. But everyone sees like a week as a new start, but then a year is like, oh my gosh, this year has to be great. Especially with this year, with the state of last year. Like this year, everyone's like, this needs to be such a good year. So I know that a lot of people I feel a lot of pressure to go on a diet and, you know, get their perfect body or whatever, like people, the way that people see that. And it's so socially conditioned, and diets simply just don't work. They just don't work. No matter how hard you try, a diet will never work for you because you don't learn anything. So you can like follow a diet all you want. You can like pick a diet and you think, oh, this will work. But it just doesn't, because you don't learn anything. There's no knowledge that you require. So once it's finished, you might see all the amazing results, but then you don't know what to do after it because you've not learned anything. There's no knowledge. You don't know how to implement it into your life. So it's destined to fail. And the only way that you'll see positive change over a long period of time is if you change your lifestyle slowly to be able to make you get there. And that's really it. There's diets that are just stupid. And they just don't work, and they're so bad for your mental health as well. It's terrible. It's a vicious cycle.
We start to beat ourselves up, don't we? Again, you know, this is coming back to this. Everything seems to come back to the fact that we put so much pressure on ourselves. You know, we put so much pressure on our own, and if we don't achieve it, it's like continually beat ourselves up about it. And guess what? It becomes a self-fulfilling spiral. We go back to normal eating and go back to eating all the things that make us feel comfortable. Sugar, you know, that's it basically. All the sugar and all the popcorn and all the sweeties and everything, and ice cream, whatever your thing is, you know, addictions as well. That comes to addictions. It's like we go back to cigarettes.
Yeah, it's another reason
why we go back to everything else. So it's the addictions is a big thing for you as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and like diets as well. They don't show you that these foods are addictive. So diets are essentially asking you to totally flip around your life and not be aware of the fact that something in your diet is highly addictive. So you basically go through this where you hate the diet because it's so hard, but you're enjoying all the benefits of it. And then when it gets to the end of it, you're like, this is like, obviously it's great that you've achieved it. But then you're like, I don't know how to carry on, because a lot of diets are like very different to normal life. So like ketogenic diet is like, no, it's hardly any carbohydrate at all. And you just can't carry that on for any length of time. It's very bad for you. So then what do you do after that? There's just no help on that. So you've got to look at diets that way, that like don't even get sucked into them, because you know that they'll work for a very small period of time, and then when you go back to it, it's just everything's going to go back to normal. And like, you've got to understand that addictions are really hard to control, and it's not you that is the problem in controlling them. And then when it comes to a diet and it's stopping, and then you need to live your life again, there's no next step. So it's about learning more about health and nutrition and fitness and how you can implement it into your life, and then making small changes every week or every day to see a change. And then when you in a year's time, you won't be saying new year, new me. You'll be saying, look, everything I've achieved this year and how much healthier I've gotten, instead of starting a new diet where you would go on a diet and then off a diet and on a diet and then off a diet again. So that's definitely helpful.
Do you think there's a lot of these diet? Well, I look at the word diet, and the very fact it's got the word die in the beginning.
Yeah, I know.
Stay away from it. It's a healthy eating plan you should be adopting, not a diet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really what it comes down to. So do you think that's why a lot of these new ideas have actually got you into subscriptions? You know, they get into subscriptions. They get you. We'll get you on a diet, and then we'll take you from there. But do you think that's profit led, or do you think that's
100%? 100%. I think there's people that genuinely want to help. I 100%. I think that. It's a very hard task to, help someone change their lifestyle. That's a big task. And giving someone a starting point is definitely helpful. But there's a lot of people driven by that. People, it's preying on people's insecurities, and like making them feel that they have to go on a diet, then them going on the diet, seeing a change, and then that's it. And I just think that if you know anything about health and fitness, that you would understand that it's a lifestyle change, not a diet that works. So people, I don't know. I just think that I would never promote a diet, because it simply is not good for your health, and it won't see long-term change, which is what we want to see. We don't want to see a short-term change for like a holiday. We want a real life change that will benefit you in a long term.
Yeah. So it's all about, it's things like other ones as well. It's like, why do you feel this way? Is the psychology behind it more important? Why do you, I'm reading some of the articles, some of the questions to say, why do you feel that way? What's making you feel that way? What is the outcome of the situation? Can you remove yourself? You know, all these things behind that is that because we all lead busy lives. To be honest, you know,
Yep.
we all lead busy lives. Let's be honest, and we've got everything else to do over and above that, and it's like,
Yep.
oh my God, no another thing to learn.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Where do you start?
No, I know. It's such a complicated thing. It's so hard. But I think starting from a good place to start is understanding like that we're all so busy, so we never stop. And that is a really good point because as humans we're meant to stop and we just don't. We absolutely no time. Everyone's constantly going. And if you're taking a break, you're probably on your phone or something like that, getting more stimulus or watching the telly or something like that. So when you stop and you like literally just sit in silence, or like when you're driving or something like that, and just ask yourself like, how are you doing? Like, what do you feel is going on right now? And listen to your emotions. I think it's so important because when you sit and listen to your emotions and sit and ask yourself how you're doing, you will learn so much about how you're feeling and what's going on in your life. And we just never give our brains that chance to communicate with us because we're always doing something. And when you give yourself that chance and you give yourself that minute, you'll realize everything that's going on, that you maybe don't need to go on a diet, is something else that's causing you to feel that you need to go on a diet.
So this is all about awareness, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is now on to the subject of awareness. This is the background behind it. And you've written a great piece about that as well. You know, how to use awareness to change your life.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the one thing before you even start thinking about changing your diet or your lifestyle is just like figuring out why you feel the need to do those things. Is it simply because you want to better your health, or is it because you feel that you need to look that way or feel that way to be good enough or to be the person that you think you should be? I think when you view it like that, it comes from a place of trauma and a place of so many different issues that even when you get to the point of like you think you look great and you're you feel that you're doing right, it won't fix the problem because that isn't the problem, and it's just another distraction. So I don't want people to become so interested in health and fitness because they think it's what they should do when they're just trying to run away from another issue. And that's the thing with everyone today. We're all, we've all got so many traumas and so many issues that we just don't deal with because we don't have the time. Yeah. And we can't do that because it's just drives our life off of something that we don't even know exists. And I've had these things before, and you don't realize they're causing you an issue until you're like, oh wait, they are. And then you realize all the things you've done to run away from that issue. And it's just that you can't live your life that way. So you need to know what's going on in your brain. So all you have to do is just sit and listen to yourself, listen to what comes into your mind, and you can learn so much from that. I think it's so important.
For some people, it's quite traumatic, though. It's quite
100%, 100%.
Anxiety, because obviously they're having to face up to the reality about where they are now
100%.
and where things are. Is that a good thing to do?
Yes and no. I think obviously, I don't know everything about this. It's just my opinion. But I think that for a lot of people, like it's horrifically traumatic, and something like that might not be possible for a lot of people. But taking small steps towards that again, or maybe speaking to someone about how you feel and things like that is so important. But I obviously understand that for so many people, like they just can't access things because it is so traumatic. But if you are aware of that issue, if you're aware that you can't tap into that, then take steps to try and become able to. But it's a very long journey, and no one finishes the journey. Everyone is on that until they die, I think. But it's just trying to think about being more aware of your feelings, and that's the only place you need to start. But obviously it'd be easier for some people.
Talk about speaking to someone, really. It's a friend, a family member.
Or just yourself.
Or even yourself,
I just sit and like talk to myself in my car, and it's great. I learn so much from myself like that, and I think it's so helpful. And like, especially when like you're speaking to someone. Yeah, away with that now,
because people think you're on your phone.
Yeah, exactly. People must think I'm crazy.
That woman's crazy. Or
people think that.
If you're rich, that woman's eccentric.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't mind though. If people think I'm crazy, that's fine, because I get so much out of that. And it's like, I think there's pressure when you're speaking to someone, especially if someone like loves you. There's pressure to seem okay, and you don't have that pressure when you speak to yourself, I think. But I don't know, people might not like to do that.
Some of the questions you say to ask is, how do you feel on a daily basis? This is what we're talking about. Check in with your emotions and your feelings.
Yep.
Don't push them away because you
No.
don't have the time to feel them. They are your priority.
Yep.
Also, the other one is, I find quite interesting, is how many of your relationships really make you happy and add value in your life. You know,
that's one thing.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, a lot of
people out there that constantly take from you as an individual, and you give all the time, but there's never a reciprocal there.
Yeah,
I mean, I know we don't give to receive, but you know, a one-way system, you know, isn't it a relationship, is it?
Yeah, and I definitely think that in a relationship you shouldn't be in it to receive, but at the same time, if it's taken from you, then you have to get far away from that person, like so far away from them, because you are your priority. You are the most important person in your life, and if someone's just taken from you, then they're doing more harm than good, and they just simply don't need to be in your life. And I think a lot of people that are in, like, not even like just romantic relationships, friends and family, everything, if you're in these situations where they just take from you, they absolutely destroy your mental health, and for absolutely no reason. You don't need them. You need yourself, and that's it.
This is why it's important to have other people around about you, though, because for somebody it's actually revolved around one person for their whole life. You know, when that person does that or goes away, then they're left with a huge gap in their life.
Yep.
So it is all about relationship and everybody else around about you as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think people are so important, but understanding when you don't need someone is also just as important, because you're okay by yourself. You'll be okay on your own. Like, we're meant to be by ourselves, and it's not bad being by yourself when you get used to it. But,
okay, so we talk about things like, as well, another one is, do you enjoy your job? 96%, no, 91% of the population actually go to work every single day and they don't enjoy what they do. 91%. I'm lucky, I'm in the 9%.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's another thing. I think that stems from childhood and the way we're brought up as well, is that we're told that we need to get a good job to survive. But I don't think that's necessarily needs to be that way, where we all hate our jobs. I think that if you find what you're passionate about, or if you find what you enjoy doing, you can make money off that no matter what, because you won't run off an empty like that. I don't remember. You're not gonna give up on something you're passionate about because you absolutely love it. But when you're doing a job,
regardless.
Exactly.
And, I've sat in front of customers before and said, to be honest, I would do this day in, day out for nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
I realise I have to make money for the business to run and pay everybody else.
No, exactly. That's the way I say it as well.
I get up every morning and I'll just do it. I just do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when you know. That is when you know you're doing what you love. Because that's the way I feel about it anyway. Like, I would do this every day. I would literally write about nutrition all day, every day. You don't have to pay. I don't get paid for it. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I think it's fantastic. And obviously, you need to make money to live. That's the point. Like, that's what I said in my blog. It's like playing the system. Is that you do need to make money to live, but do it when you're doing what you love, because you can do anything now. Absolutely anything. You can make a business out of anything, and you will will succeed because you can.
Jack Canfield talks about in Success Principles. He talks about exactly what you said. Find something you love so much you would do it for the rest of your life for nothing, and then work out a way in order how to monetize it, in some sort of form, and actually
there's always a way. Always a way. You just have to believe you can do it, and once you have that belief, you're away. You can do it.
But how do you get that belief?
I know, it's so hard. I know, it's so hard, but there's just believe in it. You don't. There's nothing saying that you can't. Like, the way I view it as well is that we're all human. And we treat people that are more successful, that they're like in a hierarchy, but they're not. We're all people. They've just decided to do something, and they've been successful at it. But that absolutely does not mean that you can't. Like, I don't know why people think, and there's so many stories as well about people that are homeless and things like that, and now they're millionaires. Like, everyone can do it, and just because they did it doesn't mean you can't. It means you can. Yeah. And that's the way I view it. We're all human. There's no one that's like got more powers than us. Like, we're all the same. So why can't we be, just as amazing?
Drive that person forward, and I always believe it's the dream. The dream is
the dream, the obstacle,
and therefore, and it's the why. Really, if anybody doesn't like the word dream, because some people just don't like that, it's not in their vocabulary. It's the why. The why has to be bigger than the obstacle, and every time it is, you'll always see the why.
Yeah.
And I've talked about in vlogs before about this, if the obstacle is bigger than the why, you'll just always see the obstacle and you'll never get any further forward.
It's just about having passion towards something and knowing that you love it, that you want to do it, and that's it. That is simply it. It's so simple, but it's also so hard. It's just, you just have to believe. But that's hard.
We've got a couple of comments here. You know, Darren said, fully agree with taking time to listen to yourself. It's a great learning and cleansing process for the mind.
Yes, 100%.
And Aileen actually says, Darren, they were discussing my mum.
Oh gosh.
But then it also comes down to things as well. It's like it's important about getting the right sleep as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, sleep's so important. People underestimate sleep, but it's genuinely one of the most important things for your health and your mental health, to be honest.
Yeah, so part until 3 o'clock in the morning should be a no-no, really.
Well, you can do that if you want to sleep till like midday.
Yeah, but it's important to get the right sleep.
Yes,
and not drive yourself
definitely.
all the time. You know,
No,
because it does overload you. It will overload you at some point in time.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. Like I said, sleep is the time for your body to repair. And if you're sleep deprived all the time, you're not getting enough time to repair. So then there's going to be an issue at some point. Everything's going to get backed up, and it's going to cause an issue. And so you should really prioritize sleep. But obviously, partying to 3 in the morning once in every while isn't going to kill you.
Yeah, exercising as well. That's important.
Yes, so important. I think nutrition and exercise are like on the same par, but I think there's a lot of pressure on exercise to be really intense and really vigorous, and it doesn't need to be like that. You could literally go for a walk a day, and that would be it. And also do some sort of like strength training, but that's it. You don't need to overcomplicate it. You just need to move. It's as simple as that.
What's your opinion on listening to music while you're out walking?
Well, it's an interesting one. That I think. Because obviously when you're walking, it's kind of like meditation. It's kind of like stopping. So I think it's a really good thing to do. But I also don't think that listening to music is necessarily a bad thing if you're making time to stop elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? But stop, like literally not doing the whole day, not taking a second for yourself. That can be a problem. And I think walking can be a good tool for that to stop.
The music for me it's always quite emotive. It actually drives something else in the mind. It releases certain chemicals that possibly walking and exercise is not meant to release. And that keeps you pumped up all the time. And a lot of people actually say, this is what I need to do to run. And I'm thinking, I don't do it anymore. I stopped doing it. I used to do it all the time. Then I stopped doing it because I realized I missed out on things like the sounds of the sea, the sounds of the birds. The opportunity just to say hello to someone when I pass, it just makes a huge difference to your mental health.
Yeah, well, before the lockdown, I was training for a marathon, but I can't in the pool. Not running. I hate running. Absolutely hate running so much. But I love swimming, and I was training for a marathon before lockdown, and then now I can't go to the pool. It's a nightmare. But that's the thing. You can't listen to music while you're swimming. So I was swimming for like an hour and a half straight, not listening to anything, and it can be hard, but it's also so good for you to just stop and just like go through the motions. It's so important. So yeah,
amazing. That's us an hour already. Would you believe that?
Yeah, no, that was quick.
Wow, I just went like that.
I know that was quick.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, Mairi.
Thank you for asking me. It was really nice.
Thanks very much for everybody else taking part and actually listening and asking questions as well. It's been a great insight. You've got Mairi's blog on there. I would highly recommend you follow that blog because everything that comes out there is really good and beneficial. It makes a lot of sense as far as I'm concerned. So, thanks very much for coming on the show. Next week, guys, we've got Sean Blake. He's going to talk about the Red Chair Project. This is a worldwide project he's put in place. It's going to be quite exciting, a lot of information on certain things that he's concentrating on. So that's next week's show. And, guys, thanks very much for taking part again. Thanks very much, Mairi. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll see everybody else next week on the Sunday slot. See you later, guys.